Rule number 9 is really tough. This was the hardest one for me to learn. It took the most knocks learning this one. Do not interfere with commerce. There are some forms of commerce that you may think are heinous and evil, that you may think that you want to be the one that stands up to destroy them, but it's not okay. No matter how ugly a form of commerce is, it is not okay to interfere with it. It's not. You cannot interfere with commerce, and if you do interfere with commerce, this is where you're going to end up. Well, one of the places that you're going to end up, right? If we saw a chain gang like this working alongside the road, would we come along and start cutting their chains off? Absolutely not. It's a form of interfering with commerce, and we seem to know that, right? And of course, when we do interfere with commerce, we end up on this chain gang. This particular type of servitude, believe it or not, is also itself voluntary. I don't know how many times I've heard on the news from big politicians that'll say things like, well, everyone in prison agreed to be there. Everyone in jail volunteered to be there. It's actually true. I once used my private signature to acquire a rather expensive truck and then traded it for a lesser truck and took the difference. And eventually the state of Texas decided they wanted to bring me into contract. I spent 30 days in the state of Texas where they kept trying to beat me into submission and get me to contract. And I refused. And I continued to remind them there's no involuntary servitude and I am not agreeing. I'm not volunteering. I'm not signing anything. I don't care what you do to me. I'm not signing anything and you're engaging in involuntary servitude and I'm objecting. Was that argument from Amistad? Yeah, slavery's horrible. Yeah, it sucks. But nobody objected. So I kept objecting. At the end of 30 days, they let me go. Now, it doesn't mean that that you can follow the same rule or that I'm telling you to go out there and do that. For you, it might take only 3 days, that's 72 hours. For me, it took 30 days. I guess they liked me a little more or maybe a little less, I'm not sure. Here we are looking at a slave plantation, right? Here's the slaves, they got their tools and they're heading out to work on that slave plantation. And you might look at that and you might think like I do, slavery sucks. Slave plantations suck. It's a horrible, heinous form of commerce and it sucks. But no matter how bad it sucks, it's not okay to interfere with commerce. Now, if one of these slaves comes up to you privately and says, listen, my life really sucks, man. They beat me and I have to work and they don't pay me and it's horrible and the food sucks and all this other stuff. You can tell them, well, hey, why don't you go to this website? Do a little research over here. Look at this over here. You can find some remedy in this way, right? That's okay. But you can't do it in a public forum like this because that would be interfering with commerce. Now we get back to our hero in Tiananmen Square, right? Once again, not really sure if he was just blindly following his normal path home and happened to be in the crosswalk and the tanks pulled up, or if he was intentionally protesting. According to the Magna Carta, which is the only remedy for this slavery, even though it's voluntary, it is not okay to fight against the slavery. What is okay is what's called peaceful protest. That is to just stand there unarmed and protest, or sit down without armed, without fighting, and just protest. Object. That's okay. And in fact, as it turns out, if we look around us and we decide that this system of commerce and this system of slavery is evil, we cannot destroy evil with evil. And you cannot fight evil with evil. If you're a firefighter, you fight fires. And if you're a crime fighter, you fight crimes. But if you're a freedom fighter, you're fighting freedom. So you can't fight for freedom and you can't destroy evil with evil. And this might bring us to, here we are, continuing on with rule number 9, do not interfere with commerce. Unions, right? Live better, vote union, join a union. Do unions interfere with commerce? In a way, they sure do, right? Because what are they doing? They're coming up between the contract between the slaves and the plantation manager, and they're saying, hey, we want to interfere in here, we want to be a third-party intervener. And that's why when the unions are being formed, everyone has to take such a beating, because they're interfering with commerce.
You're listening down with the truth. Now that's something to me. Know thyself, seek and ye shall find. I tell you this now, it's in no African mind. Searching diamonds, gold, silver, platinum, them the kind of things, illusions you fathom. Yeah, they call it magic. Right, you're right, it's tragic. I know, clever what they done, fantastic. Come against me now, you end up in a straitjacket. I'll prove you illiterate. One question, the language. Now who's the pickle in the sandwich? This kind of knowledge that you're hearing will damage you, destroy you. Don't worry, I'll employ you, get you back on track, so you can defend your own attack.
Gold chain round your neck, nothing to me. Diamonds in your teeth, nothing to me. You could be rolling 22s, nothing to me. Down with the truth, now that's something to me. Gold chain round your neck, nothing to me. Diamonds in your teeth, nothing to me. You could be rolling 22s, nothing to me. Down with the truth, now that's something to me.
Blah, 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 blah is all they're saying. Documentation I'm giving you, just not reading. Pay attention, brother man, sitting